What's it like when you become a success as a digital nomad entrepreneur? My name is Eric, this is Rising Nomad, and I'm going to tell you a bit of my story and what's changed after I got post-scarcity as a digital nomad entrepreneur and had, more success than I ever imagined. Let's go. Hey folks, it's Eric from Rising Nomad here in Belgrade, Serbia today. Once again, my base in Europe, and I wanted to share, a lot of people think that their life will be amazing after they make it as a digital nomad entrepreneur. After, whatever they're doing works out, it'll be amazing. And I can definitely say my life is amazing, but I wanted to share a bit about what's changed after a success, after making lots of money online, and after going post-scarcity, so I no longer worry about finances at all. So what I'm going to tell you first of all is this is not a rags to riches story. I'm from a pretty good family and background. I grew up in Toronto, Canada, in one of the nicest neighborhoods called Moore Park, Rosedale neighborhood. So I was surrounded by, let's say, wealthy people, wealthy, successful people, influential people my whole life in my neighborhood. And luckily, from the age of 16, it was 1999 when I was 16, and I basically was able to make money from these people by fixing their computers. So I've been in the IT industry making really decent cash since I was 16 years old. So I was never really poor, but my life experiences led me to get out of Canada. And there was a struggle that ensued after I left behind my initial IT support business in Canada and started to basically just get out in the world and make money. And I just really wanted to live in Belgrade, and that's why I started my company Support Adventure, so I could work online as an IT technician. I started working online only in 2013, and since then we've been building. Now there's over 100 people working around the world for my company, Support Adventure. So basically, it's not a rags to riches story, but I can definitely say it's a lot different than it was when I started out in terms of my budget and my lifestyle habits. And there's been a steady sort of increase in, my success and my feeling of confidence and the way that I sort of live my life and how optimized everything is. So I wanted to share a lot of that and let you know what it's like to be me at this point, I basically got through the whole thing. My business is mature now, and I'm taking my hands off of it in a lot of ways. And what's it like to be in this position? So let's get into it. So one of the major shifts I've noticed in my own mentality now is I'm starting to think about longevity. I'm starting to think about what my lifestyle is going to look like 5 years down the road, how to invest my money so that it builds something for the future, so that I can actually have this type of lifestyle endure and go long term. For example, last year I bought a property in Serbia in the Šumadija region, and it's an investment for the future. I started investing in cryptocurrency, which is also an investment in the future, and just thinking about diversifying, putting money away in different forms, just sort of thinking about how can I make sure that this doesn't all go away overnight, because lots of people did have this experience where they did get rich and then it all evaporated. There's lots of examples of that, and I don't want to be one of them. So I'm thinking about how can I safeguard what I've worked so hard for, to have some sort of longevity in how I manage to live the rest of my life. I'm thinking even like multi-generationally, if I have children or something. I'm thinking about building communities that can change the lives of other people. We'll get to that stuff. But yeah, definitely longevity is a really important thing at this point. Now, the next thing I'll mention is stability. Especially through the last couple of years with the pandemic and everything like that, I learned to really appreciate stability in terms of accommodation, having a nice place to live, having a stable routine that I'm living, to wake up, not be too sort of like destabilized by taking too many Zoom calls late at night, by taking all this sort of stuff, just trying to find this rhythm that makes me feel good week in, week out. And this means less moving around, less jumping around and wanting to change the location where I'm living. The Slowmad thing, I made another video about Slowmad stuff, basically. How to best set yourself up for success as a digital nomad traveling slowly. And I really feel that with the success I've enjoyed, I realize that the most important thing is to feel good and feel grounded and everything like that. So yeah, definitely I slowed down, more stable, less rushing around, less hustling, less feeling of I need to do this because I've already made it. It's about finding a way to feel good now. So yeah. I also feel a need to optimize pretty much everything in my life now, as much as possible. That means sort of like finding ways to get stuff done that minimizes the hassle of getting stuff done. Finding ways that I can, for example, communicate with people better. I use only like my email account and Facebook Messenger. If you ask me if I'm on WhatsApp and if you can write me on there, I'm probably gonna say no. Even though I do have it, I don't use it on a daily basis as a means of communication. I find it annoying that it's tied to a phone number. So optimizing the way people communicate with me and getting communication sort of as much done as possible in weekly meetings with the people I'm working with in my business, supportive venture, and having a schedule that optimizes that communication so they know that they're gonna hear from me at certain times and they know how to get in touch with me urgently at any time through something called PagerDuty, and they know that the rest of the time, if you can wait for the weekly meeting, talk to me about it then. So you have to make yourself a little bit less available anytime for a chat so that you can free up those like parts of your life, those times for like taking long walks and making videos like this, for example, and thinking through the issues of the business, because I find my greatest ideas for business and lifestyle and digital nomad stuff come when I let it breathe, when I make my decisions in a relaxed way, where I'm not running around, running after all these like beeps and notifications and stuff like that. So I basically have no notifications on my phone except for that PagerDuty. And I'm optimized in the way that I communicate with everybody, and it really makes for a much more livable life as a founder of a company and someone who's ultimately responsible for more than 100 people around the world. So definitely once you become successful as a digital nomad, you want to optimize more, and this will even make your business more scalable. So yeah, optimize that shit. Organizing your efforts is really important. Whatever you're doing, it's better to have longer blocks of time where you're working on stuff. Like today I'm making like 2 or 3 of these videos rather than doing one a day, for example. And when I work on my business supportive venture, I work like really hard for a couple days, usually Tuesday, Wednesday, 12-hour days, just banging out what needs to be done, having all the staff meetings and stuff like that. So then the rest of the week I can sort of let it breathe, as I said. And organizing your effort is really important, because when you're focused on something and it's something that you're all in on, you make much better results. But if it's everything all at once from everybody, then you're going to be diluted in your focus, in your effort. You're going to make worse decisions. You're going to be distracted by all sorts of stuff coming in all the time. So organizing your effort is one of the most important things as a successful digital nomad. And I think when you realize that you shouldn't do everything all the time, I mean, in the beginning phases of the business, I was working on the weekends. I was stressed out on the weekends. I was, I don't know, sitting in my music studio, making my music, and then getting an email and just having to abandon the music session because some email came in from a client that threw me for a loop and stuff like that. That doesn't happen anymore because I organized my whole company so that there's layers of management underneath me, and it's filtered what's coming to me. And I know that I'm very powerful at jumping in and solving problems, but it's kind of important not to want to do that all the time. Another thing about being a successful digital nomad is you start to think of everything in terms of hassle, not cost. Like, how much hassle will it be for me to rent a car this weekend? Not how much will it cost. How much hassle will it be for me to buy a property somewhere? How much hassle will it be for me to open up a new business entity in another country? And how much hassle will it be for me to take that flight to another continent? And this is why VIP services tend to come in and wanting to hire experts like lawyers and accountants who know what they're doing and will do it for you. And lots of stuff can be a hassle, and this is why people get personal assistants. It's something I'm considering right now, because it's not so much about money as it is time, because money, there's lots of it now. But time, it's like, we all have the same 24 hours a day, and it's how we use it and how we lose it. So that's why I always wear the same type of black t-shirt. When I go and buy clothes and I find something that works for me, I'll just buy like 3 of the same shorts and 3 of the same sandals and 12 of the same t-shirt, so on and so forth. And I like to keep it simple like that. And simplicity is something you really learn to appreciate as a digital nomad, traveling the world. Like, pretty much this stuff I've got on my back right now could be enough for me to travel. Like, this size backpack could be basically like me traveling the world indefinitely with just the stuff in there. Of course, there's stuff that I do like to have in the locations, like a guitar and a bicycle, but you can always buy those there, and it's less hassle, for example, to buy a guitar and a bicycle in a location that you're going to be spending a month in than it is to actually get those things there or travel with them in any way, shape, or form. And so, I'm also not into luxury goods. Right behind me here, there's a Rolex store, and it just seems like there's this whole culture of materialism or status, seeking status symbols and all that sort of stuff that me, as a wealthy digital nomad, I'm not interested in at all. I'm interested in having cultural experiences, seeing cool music, trying cool cuisine, and having amazing experiences. And luckily, when there is an amazing experience, like now I have money to sort of pay for it. When there is like an awesome street musician, I don't think twice about giving them some money. And but I'm just not into this culture of people trying to look fancy and like this menswear thing. I'm just keeping it simple. I'm kind of like status illegible, meaning that you don't know that I'm a wealthy, successful entrepreneur just from looking at me. You would have to read between the lines a little bit to figure that out and talk to me maybe and listen to my ideas. And I'm not interested in looking like I have money because, well, you can attract a lot of negative attention if you try to show off like that. Not that I'm averse to like being stylish or whatever, I just don't really find it's at this point really important to put much time trying to accomplish that in any certain way, because the type of people I like to associate with don't really think about that stuff. But if I do end up having a nice motorbike or a nice car or something like that, that's because I like the car. This is kind of part of my upper middle class background, whereas like growing up in a neighborhood where people were like multi-generation rich people, it basically meant that people don't show off their wealth as much as the social climbers do, the new money, and the way that those people show off their wealth with like fancy suits and Rolexes is kind of considered a little bit tacky. So yeah, try to minimize the hassle. Because a lot of the time having these luxury things, it is a hassle. Having a Rolex watch, I'm sure it's a hassle. Having a nice sports car is a hassle in a lot of ways, and you just want to minimize the hassle and keep it simple. But I do have money, and for the things that really make me feel awesome, I've got lots of money and time for that stuff, like getaways. You know, how do you feel when you are able to just go to a beautiful resort for the weekend without thinking about the cost? Well, it feels pretty good for me, because you know, you'd be surprised at the difference in countries like Thailand, for example, of the difference between a $30 a night accommodation and a $100 a night accommodation. And so this idea of getting away and being able to just go. Some people are attracted to stuff like private jets and stuff like that. I have never been on one before. It's something that's intriguing, but I would do it a little differently. Like I would, my maximum experience would be to take a private jet with my band, fly to some European city from here in Belgrade, Serbia, and then sort of like busk on the street, on a busy walking street where there's lots of energy, lots of people see you, and then play a awesome sold out concert in the evening and then fly back on the jet, whatever. That would be how I would use that, with this idea of getaways, with this idea of sort of like, again, minimizing hassle and just like go to the nicest place you possibly can. Don't worry about the cost and just enjoy your life. Not because you want to show off to other people, but because you actually want to stay in a really nice boutique hotel with, you know, ethno-inspired design, because you want to try, you know, the finest food that they have on the menu and all this sort of stuff, and you just go and have that experience and you don't think about it when you're a successful digital nomad. Whereas like before, I was like, oh, should I go for this like sort of shady looking like $10 a night sort of accommodation option, or should I go with the slightly nicer $25 accommodation? I mean, I still would take accommodation in hostels, but I would always take a private room with a private bathroom. I don't have time for anything less than that at this point. It's just what I need. But hostels are great places to meet people, to have a lively atmosphere where people are open to having spontaneous encounters, and I still enjoy hanging around at hostels. And it's just part of who I am, this being open and being spontaneous, meeting strangers and stuff like that, and it's awesome. I never want to stop being that guy. And you can use your wealth to complement that stuff rather than shielding yourself from it. You know, it might be better to stay in a nice city center place, hotel in the city center, and really feel the pulse of the city, rather than staying at a resort that is outside of the city center. So yeah, whatever you enjoy, you know, how I now have whatever I enjoy within reach, and different things are enjoyable in different moments. One thing that I definitely do not want to cheap out on, if I can avoid it, is food quality. I'm talking about when I eat cheese, I want to eat great cheese, actually goat's cheese. And when I eat whatever I'm eating, I want to go premium. I want to have the finest, most organic, most gourmet sort of food that I can, that makes me feel the best when I eat it. And this is something that I grew into. You know, you start with these sort of luxury purchases where you had like the normal cheese you used to buy, and then it's like, I'm not gonna pay €3 for 100 grams of cheese. Oh, but just this once I'll try it. And then you sort of like refine your tastes. Wine seems to work the same way. So does, you know, spirits, fine alcohol, and lots of different stuff. You can actually find a world of quality there. And once you get used to it, you feel much better when you eat better food. And then your brain works better and you make more money, actually, because you're more focused. And then once you have more money, you just keep on buying that expensive stuff. And I'm really happy the way I've improved my diet over the years, and that money is not a barrier to getting the clean food that I want, because most of the food out there is made for mass marketing. They sacrifice quality in order to get their costs down so that they can make more money, and that whole capitalist game. But there's also the high quality market, which is a much smaller market, but there's so many people out there that make such good products. They just cost more money than the mass produced crap that you find almost everywhere. So food is a huge part of my life, and finding the ingredients, having the time and the discernment to find the really good ingredients means like going to a bunch of health food stores, going to a bunch of like cheese fairs, and really like searching for the best. And that's something that I'm so glad is a huge part of my life, and it just pays back in dividends for your health. And then it's also really important to figure out what you actually feel passionate about that's not linked to your business, and make passion projects. Once you are in my position where you founded a company and you've delegated a lot of the tasks and it's taking less and less of your time, and you're still having to step in and do a lot, but you want some stuff on the side that really you love. And for me, that's like stuff like this, Rising Nomad videos, Rising Nomad community. We have a community on Facebook where I meet interesting people and other entrepreneurs who see this content and want to talk to me, and I help them as I can. And for example, my number one passion project is Eric and the Worldly Savages, which is my music, which I have never stopped doing, even through the whole hustle of launching a company and becoming a successful digital nomad, remote working entrepreneur. I was still recording music the whole time and working on the passion, and something about that makes it really special, because I'm not just working for money. Money is now, they say like money can't make you happy, but the lack thereof can make you very miserable. So you need other stuff in your life which will make you feel passion. Some people do this by having children, family, whatever. But for me, at this point, it's mostly music, because that's giving me something that's just so amazing. It's better to be a singer, songwriter on stage than it is to be singing your truth to people who are a full house of people drinking and dancing and stuff like that. That's better than being the CEO of a company and looking at how much money you made this month. And I've done both, so I can tell you with authority that, at least for me, it's much better to have that passion project, to have that, infusion of pure why I'm existing arise in your life. So I have a lot more time for passion projects now and money to invest in them, and it's really super awesome. Some people go the route of charities, some people invest in various sort of want to open a restaurant. They want to whatever the dream was that's outside of how they envisioned. It doesn't mean that the passion project can make money. It can be a functioning business, but you have to make sure that it's aligned with your passion and it's not too much hassle, and that you have a good vibe with everybody who's involved in your passion projects. That's super important for me, and that's kind of the guiding principle behind Rising Nomad, Worldly Savages, and stuff like that. I want to spend great times with people I love, and that brings me to my next point, which is community. You want a community of people around you that you love spending time with. You want it to be like the epic hangouts, the stories, the sitting there and enjoying somebody else's company so much, or a group of people in their company. You want to build that around yourself once you're successful. And the passion projects are a great way to do this. And when I see people who have successfully built the right type of communities around themselves, they have a richness that goes way beyond money. And so this is what I'm doing with my property out in the countryside. This is what I'm doing with my band. This is what I'm doing with Rising Nomad, our Facebook group that you can join, link in the description. And I'm just looking for all these sorts of people who are up for these legendary hangouts, who are up for like building a community of people that, for example, come to the concerts of Eric and the Worldly Savages, want to travel the world and, you know, catch up, come to an event that I launch in Thailand, which there will be soon. Yeah, community is the most important thing, and now that I've become a successful digital nomad, I really need to focus on building that, because it's what gives the most magic in my life. And when I lived back in Canada, everyone was living their silly little individualist, emotionally isolated lives, and just didn't make me happy to look at the prospect of living in a country where people live in their own little bubbles. Then you come to a place like Serbia, where people are super social and super open, especially to foreigners, and much more used to hanging out. And there's a huge difference in the way that you enjoy your life once you experience that. And that's one of the main things that made me want to leave Canada and become a digital nomad. And also to find more people who are, outsiders like me. And I'm assembling this community of outsiders. So that's what this is all about. And another thing about being a successful digital nomad is you want to find people who are of your caliber, of your sort of like, I'm an entrepreneur, have a successful venture, so it's super valuable to find other successful entrepreneurs to hang out with, share ideas, and sort of like who have been through a similar journey, because like the entrepreneurial grind is real. And the way that you have to adapt emotionally to that is very unique, and getting through that whole thing and finding success and managing a successful organization after success, as the founder, if you can find other people who can hang out with you. When I find other people, we just, we provide so much value to each other. And so there's a concerted effort to find people who have also launched ventures, who are also successful musicians, YouTubers and stuff like that, who have been through whatever the grind was, gotten through the other side, and gotten post-scarcity with that stuff, and are now trying to find what's next, now trying to find ways to optimize their life, fitness, health. We have a lot in common when I meet these other entrepreneurs. So if you are one of those people, feel free to reach out, join our Facebook group below, and get in touch with me. And you know, if we click online, then we can meet somewhere crazy and do crazy things. I don't know, like there's a whole world of adventure that, as I said, we can have access to, and just knowing other successful people, there's something really special about it. And yeah, let's build the community. And so in the last part of this video, I'm just going to talk about what has not changed. What's the same? And when I set out on this journey, when I was like, what has not changed about me? What has not changed about the way I live and my lifestyle, the way I look at the world? Because recently I had a Hungarian guy who I used to live with in London. He came to Belgrade, and we hadn't talked since 10 years ago when we both lived in London. And he was wondering what I was up to, but we didn't really discuss it before we met for a drink in the evening here in Belgrade last week. And basically what happened is I just went and sat down with him and told him, yeah, I started a company. He remembered me as the poor musician. I started a company, you know, super successful, got a property in the countryside. He ended up coming there, and he was super surprised. I think mostly because I didn't change that much. Like, I was still the same person, still basically like not really looking like a rich person, still just living my life, enjoying conversation. I wasn't like suddenly too good to meet with him. No, of course, you want to catch up with people. You want to keep your values. And one of the values that I got growing up from my family was, you know, go out and explore the world, meet all types of different people. My dad and my grandfather, like, we have been traveling in this part of Europe for 3 generations now. Yugoslavia, Serbia, Balkans, all around. And the attitude is very much get out there and meet people, even though we're like essentially these like upper middle or upper class people that have opportunities that a lot of the common people we meet don't. you still have to be open to hanging out with the common people. You still, and the thing is very much like, the thing that I love about culture is that all different types of people contribute to it. And a lot of the best music comes from working class cultures, like hip hop and like a lot of the Latin American music I listen to, the Greek rabbinical music, all coming from working class culture. And I never want to not have stuff in common with those people and shield myself from that. So I grew up in a nice neighborhood, but also was raised to mingle with the masses. And I haven't changed that. Some people make fun of me because I don't dress like a rich person. I dress in what's comfortable for me, which is like flip-flops or sandals, cargo shorts, and these black t-shirts that I just endlessly cycle through the laundry. And yeah, you can make fun of me for that stuff, but I feel like at the end of the day, what I'm going for is cool. I became a musician so I could be more cool. I could have stayed in Canada and followed the the sort of straight and narrow path and just kept on growing my IT business. But instead I was allured by the wine, women and song of Serbia and ended up living in Belgrade, and then having a business idea based on remote working from here that ended up making me more successful than basically I would have been probably if I stayed in Canada. And the richness of life, being able to travel the world, go to Asia, Latin America, all over Europe, both with my business supportive venture and my band Worldly Savages, and it's all related. I haven't changed that part of me. I haven't changed what motivates me. It's just like the preferences and the habits that change with money, because you get access to more sort of like means. And luckily, since I grew up in a fairly well-off place, I don't feel this resentment towards people with money that a lot of people do. And I don't feel this like phobia of working class people that a lot of people in the middle class do. And I do realize that I am a snob in some ways with the food that I eat and sort of my opinions about some people and their work ethic in particular. And but there's also this feeling of loving life, loving every person on this planet, and wanting to make a life that contributes to people's lives, and make music that contributes to people's lives, make a business that contributes to people's lives, and that has not changed. What's changed is the circumstances and the conveniences that I have access to while doing that, and my confidence actually got a lot better now, that because when you have problems with finances, you're wondering how you're going to make money next month and stuff like that, you're not being your full embodied self. So I wrote a song, I guess it was about 9 years ago, called Beggar or Banker, and it was like, I'm fine. The message of the song was, a beggar or banker, which one will I be? Somehow you know they both suit me. I don't know which is worse, which one is more free. We're all born in shit. So everybody on this planet suffers in some way. Life is suffering in some way, and you just have to live with that and develop yourself regardless of that. And the whole thing about money and not money, the money that you make is kind of a mirror for how you apply your intelligence to create value for people. Now, there's lots of really shitty ways to do it, and there's lots of really nice ways to do it. I feel that being a digital nomad that gives people jobs so that they can work remotely and be digital nomads, I'm doing a nice thing for the world. And now that I have the money from that venture, I can reinvest it in more nice things. Yeah, you can basically say that I'm some sort of privileged white person from an upper middle class background, and that's all true. But I'm always willing to be in the world and see what's actually happening, and see what the ordinary people are doing, and hang out and be one of them in some sense of fashion, despite the fact that now I'm a rich person. So I hope you enjoyed this video, this reflection, this sort of way of talking, and I hope this, if you're on the journey to being a successful and wealthy digital nomad, congratulations, and yeah, I hope the insights helped you. I'll catch you guys later.